Okay, so I got a little bit, I had to stop and kind of reread what he was talking about here because I wasn't really sure. He's talking about, he says, you say Weston A. Price will mix good info, like don't eat standard American diet, with controversial info, eat more meat because it's good for you. However, you don't mention a specific place you see this. You say it's all over their website and refer us to go read it. I've been reading the WAPF website and I would like to see 10 examples of what you claim. A little demanding, are we? Especially since you haven't given me a single point really to work with yet. But that's okay. We'll see what we got here. It could help other people as well. So, since you say it's all over their site, I'm sure that you can come up with 10 solid examples of it right. Okay, so, you know, I never like specifically said it's like right next to each other. It's kind of like a generalization for what, we're talking about. I mean, it's just the idea that they're good about like they make people like they support small, organic farmers. So that's a good thing that they do. And because they do things like that and because they fight Monsanto, they've long been a fighter, of Monsanto, and because they're, raising awareness about like GMO, corn and soy. So that is a good issue. And this is what I mean. I don't mean like necessarily like some specific part of the, articles where they do this. This is just who they are. I mean, they've been talking about, keeping family farms going for a long time. And because of that, people say, well, back off, just leave them alone. They can do whatever they want. They should be able to be telling whatever lies they want because they help small farmers. Like people have actually said that, like, leave them alone. Like they don't want to listen to what I'm saying. So they just want to say their opinion and that's fine. And, so that's kind of my point. So I'm not really going to go through and, find 10 different, things about this. Specific idea here because it's just like I said, it's more of a basic, idea. Like I said, organic, small farms, fighting Monsanto, it's good stuff. And even, like raising, like they even say in the top of the vegetarian tour, like raising some awareness just about like nutrition. And, they have some some knowledge that they have that they found that it's good, like the whole soaking of grains is like probably a good thing. I don't really think it's that important as they make it out to be, but that would probably be one of the other things that I could say, one of the very few other things that I would say that I would agree with. Okay, so what I do want to mention here is kind of about like what I meant more with the comments too that I'm making is like and I'll find some examples of this, but whenever they say something, they'll put it in there and then they'll say about 3 or 4 like really controversial kind of statements that aren't exactly the same thing, and then they'll put the link down at the bottom of the whole paragraph, and it doesn't really show you exactly what they were trying to say. So when you go to the link's not working or the link's broken or whatever. So, and I'm going to do a video about this next, because I don't want to just try to put everything on here. I'm going to delve into it a little bit better and just show you exactly what I mean, since you're not actually being objective enough to see this. Just like I said, you're looking for like a little needle in a haystack, and I'm looking at the big picture. So let's go back. Let's try to stay on topic for now. Um, so past the 10 examples, he's asking if I've read the book, and I have. I used to have the books, and I used to eat this way a decade ago. So I've been on both sides of the fence. And what does not add up as far as what I'm saying? You said it doesn't add up with what I said, but you're not saying what exactly you disagree with that I've said. So please, differentiate and let us know what you're trying to say here. Um, so again, you're assuming, that I'm not reading these things, saying it doesn't sound like it from your comments. Well, maybe you should read a little bit more of what I've posted, because I've made it clear that, I used to have nourishing traditions, and I haven't read all of Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, but I have read most of it, seen the outline, and looked up a lot of different parts in researching the book from the points. So it's kind of like I don't really feel like I have to read that whole entire thing, it's kind of a waste of time. So anyway, so yeah, you have the one book and blah blah. Yeah, again, tell me what is different. Um, if you want to talk about what Weston A. Price thought, let's talk about Weston A. Price. Weston A. Price was a doctor that actually, believed a lot of really wrong things, even about dentists. Did I say he's a doctor? He's not a doctor. He's a dentist. And he believes a lot of really wrong things, even in his own, if he's in his own practice, in his own industry or whatever you call it, that would be his dentistry. And even though he tries to come out, he's not even getting the dentistry part right. So I don't see why people think he's such a brilliant person when he was, having these really bad studies, obviously, like this is. I mean, I'm sorry, but these studies that he performed were not real studies. It's not scientific. When you want to talk about all this scientific printed literature, it's not a scientific study, okay? You have to admit that. There's no way, shape, or form that it's actually, scientifically proper, and would uphold to standards of today's science. So he actually, believed that people that had this root canal therapy would leak bacteria and toxins into the body, which cause arthritis and all this other stuff. And so they would do these focal infections. And it was this theory that, led to a lot of people, millions of people having, needless extractions of their teeth. So later on, when better, designed studies were made, during the 1930s, they demonstrated that his, all of his theories on dentistry pretty much were not valid. So, there's just so much. There's so many holes in his research that it's funny that people don't want to, even acknowledge that it's not real science. He ignored people's life expectancy. He's wanting to say, oh, these people are more healthy altogether because they have less cavities and whatnot. He didn't look at, he looked at their statures, and he looked at a lot of different things, which are actually caused by a lot of different things, not just necessarily just your diet. And like I said, life expectancy is a big thing in your actual overall health. So I would think in a real study on True Health that he would have included life expectancy. And, also high rates of infant mortality. If a culture is healthy in themselves, then they're going to have, a low rate of infant mortality. Also other diseases, endemic diseases, and malnutrition. And one thing about malnutrition that people apparently do not understand who follow Weston A. Price is that malnourished people usually don't get very many cavities. So that's a fact. Look it up. And that may help explain a few things and make you want to rethink things and do some different research as well. Because let me tell you, if all of you've done is read a bunch of Weston A. Price books and read a bunch of Weston A. Price papers and you haven't looked at the opposing issue, then you're where I was 10 years ago. And at least I've been on both sides. And I can say, yes, I have read your literature. I have seen it. I have even done it. I believed it. I've done it myself. I have the before and after pictures to show for it too. So stick around for that. Like and subscribe down the bottom if you want to learn more about high carb vegan diet, because I guarantee you haven't tried that either. So moving on, there's still some really interesting stuff in this post. I'm sure you're not aware of all the different tribes of people Dr. Price studies, but he wants to remote. This doesn't even make sense. I am not sure you are aware of all the different tribes of people Dr. Price studied, but he went to remote areas, I guess, of Switzerland. I already know this. He's assuming you're telling me nothing new, just like all of you Weston A. Price people. Nothing new. Blah, 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 bitty, blah. I already know the whole history of him. I've been there, done that, okay? In Africa, he was examining mostly veggie-eating people. They ate some bugs, mostly meat-eating people, and people who eat both, and the healthiest group ate both. And surely there were no other factors. I'm sure there was just no other, factors that should be considered at all, since we're being so scientific, right? No. And the funny thing is you can't replicate his studies. You can't go out and find the same exact things. And you also learn when you start to get into that type of real science, you learn a lot of things, like the body adapts to the diet and it makes really unhealthy things actually more tolerable when you do it over a certain period of time, and your ancestral background has done that as well. So that's something to look up as well. Also, you want to look up, in some of my other videos you might have missed, you want to talk about all this traditional, and actually there's really, no proof that Paleolithic people ate up to, that all well, I guess we're not talking about paleo, we're talking about less than a price people, but traditionally, if you want to talk about true traditions all across the globe and also traditions of our own ancestors, not eating 80% meat like Sally Fallon is trying to get people to do. So it's just crazy. So anyway, back to their point here. You didn't find any vegan groups means something. No, it doesn't. This is 2014. We're not surviving like that. We're not spending 10,000 calories a day trying to survive and find food. We don't live in a traditional way, so we can't continue for our planet and for our own bodies. We can't continue to eat in a traditional way. Also, like I said, if you go back into the real, real studies on, and a lot of the newest studies on traditional cultures throughout history, they were eating much less meat than people think. They were better with vegetables and better with finding a lot of different, foraging out in the woods than people thought, and people have thought for a long time. And most people, if they did eat it, it was because they had to for certain harsh periods of time or whatnot, and you can't justify that. It means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. You say it means something. Well, what does it mean? Just because it survived doesn't mean that we shouldn't evolve. You know what I mean? There's not an argument there at all. It doesn't mean it's best for me. It doesn't mean it's healthiest. Just because they utilize something that, and God made our bodies very resilient. Just because you can survive off of something even relatively well doesn't mean that it's best for you. So please understand what I'm talking about here before you just go make a bunch of comments and take up my time, really. I mean, I understand you just had a typing thing and you were wanting to procrastinate, but geez. I do understand your idea of traditional eating, but like I said, go ahead and look up, the studies that I posted about, and again, facebook.com, Clary Berry, I've posted all the studies about every single thing that I'm saying here. So it's pretty interesting. If you felt bad eating meat, it's probably because it's not properly prepared. Honey, I've had meat prepared every single way. I've had organic meat. I've eaten just organic meat for a long time. I've had grass-fed, raw milk, all of it. I've had it. I've done it. I've been there. I felt like shit. And all the people I know who actually consume raw milk feel like shit because of it and end up stopping drinking it, actually. And, well, maybe not all the people. There may be a couple people that still are consuming it. But as far as I know, those same people have also told me that they thought that it was not, doing good for them. So very, very interesting that people are wanting to give their kids stuff that they can't even stomach themselves. Just a comment. So no, your idea that I was only eating like KFC and stuff, that's full of crap. Again, if you would have watched some of my videos, you would have known that, but since you didn't want to actually take the time, I'm having to take the time to address it. But yes, I ate organic for a really long time. All my kids were raised organic, and so yeah. Here we go. Next comment. They're saying, cows on a small farm scale can actually, help it. And there's a lot of other ways of fertilizing your crops. You don't necessarily need to have manure. I'm very well aware that some people choose to use that, but I actually think that's a huge burden because I feel like truly organic veggies, fruit should be able to be eaten off the vine, not even needing to be washed because it's so pure, that they don't need to be washed off of manure. And when you're putting manure all over the fields, that's where you start to get salmonella, E. coli in fruits and vegetables, someplace where it should never be. So please, honestly, I'm going to start looking into this, which companies are truly vegan and are not using actually horse shit and cow shit and pig shit of, animals, and we don't even know if those are organic. If those are animals are organic or not that they're using. So, again, this is all your subjective, versus objective, opinions. This is just opinions. I get the concept. You don't have to post a video about it. It can benefit the soil as opposed to not doing anything. Just like the Weston A. Price diet can be better than standard American diet, but that doesn't mean it's the best thing for us. So please, leave that around. As far as the ethics, okay, since we're talking about ethics from meat eaters, yes. How many people the banana industry has killed? Okay. This is definitely another video. It has nothing to do with, an animal we would never eat versus a human being. Suffering to me is pretty much, it's not the same thing on a certain level, but if you have, however many people that you're going to try to tell me that the banana industry has killed, you know, it's going to be that versus millions, billions, you know, of animals, and like animals every single day, like on a literal, you know, factory line, you know, going, it just doesn't, and it's not even about ethics at this point for me. So really, you know, I should just skip all over this. Anytime you have any food, whether you're harvesting it or whatever, you're going to have animals die. And we're talking about something, you're trying to blame it on, you know, the banana industry, that a certain, you know, person here and, you know, the CIA, and there was this bad situation, and really, like, that's ridiculous to try to, you know, blame all of the, like I said, this is going to be a whole nother video because I think it was so interesting, your point here. So I'm just going to kind of skip over that. Stay tuned right afterwards for the video. And, you know, they're saying, you know, Dole and Del Monte were caught. And yes, of course, I don't. I try to avoid, like, the big, you know, brands in general, just because I always like to support, you know, smaller brands. But, you know, it is pretty much impossible to just eat this kind of diet. But it's all a relative thing. And again, if you really honestly feel like, you know, Dole is less cruelty, you know, free than something else, then that's just your own ignorance. And I don't think anything that I'm going to say is, you know, it's just, it's crazy. So yeah, no, ethics isn't an issue, but we will talk about that. And now we're saying bananas ecologically are destroying this planet. That's hilarious. I'd like to see your links to that one. That's hilarious. And I have heard this before. This is nothing new either. Do you understand the banana plague happening right now around the world? Honey, can you please explain to me how in the world the banana plague is actually affecting anything that has to do with this conversation? It has nothing to do with ethics, has nothing to do with my consumption of bananas, except for that it is threatened. But I don't see even what you're trying to say at all. There's nothing, there's no connection between my eating bananas and the banana plague. The banana plague is a disease caused by a fungus. It's happening to other things as well, you know, not just bananas. And, you know, it's bugs. We're talking about bugs and fungus. We're not talking, it's threatening the global supply. So what? You know, this has no bearing on our conversation whatsoever. And I think it's hilarious. You're probably just repeating something that you heard from some person, like from the Weston A. Price message boards or something. I mean, honestly, where do you get this? It's just ridiculous. You want to talk about, oh, I have like all these sources, and you want to give me stuff like that? Come on. Like, most heirloom varieties have been replaced, blah, blah, blah. This happens with everything. This happens with your heifers. This is happening with everything. You know, yeah, that's a problem. It doesn't mean I shouldn't eat bananas. Are you kidding me? Let's do have a dialogue. And then, so how to go to work, I would say so much more. Yeah, I'm glad you took like a couple minutes out of your day, like a half an hour or whatever, to like type up this rant, which is supposed to be so scientifically like condescending, but yet you didn't leave one single link or say one single thing that meant anything. I just want to say. But regardless, since they shared this, they're getting their own people that are you know, coming on here and saying, oh yeah, you're so right. And in fact, oh no, so I don't know who's going on. This is Cheryl Renee or something. And then the Vehe person is the one who's responding, wow, you're so right. I've been studying the topic a lot. Shocks me is that most people who like to make videos don't actually want to get serious and talk about the details and answer the tough questions. So this is me answering your tough questions. I will obviously put a link to this, but I think it's silly. It says, it almost seems like some of the videos are people who are paid to advertise a certain point. So that's hilarious. Have you checked out my videos or anything? No, you haven't. You just want to comment on my videos without knowing anything, which is obviously how you got sucked into Weston A. Price bullshit. So, fanatical, yeah. Oh, I never heard that one before. Like, just because I do what's best for my body and I want to educate others, I'm fanatical. What actually differentiates me from the people that you're supporting here? Nothing, except for our differentiating opinions. So, you know, you want to judge and say I'm fanatical, that's fine, but I'm not even going to sit here and make, you know, judgments on you like that. So it's really silly. So, vegan plus butter, okay, well, that's feel good. Well, like I said, what vegan diet were you doing? Like, were you doing a high carb, mostly fruit vegan diet, or were you eating crap and not paying attention and eating high protein and high fat and high oil? So they seem to work best for me. Yeah, I thought that too. You know, keep going with it, see how you feel. But if you've ever tried high carb diet, then you can't talk about it. You just can't talk. You can't come and talk about it because you don't know. So you could try both and see what works and come back and let us know. But until you do that, until you just want to eat your probiotics and not very many prebiotics and your bone broths and everything like that, then that's fine. So yeah, we're not talking about our egos. This is why people need to stop just coming in with these emotional based, oh, and my friend said this, and so I'm just going to look at that. And, that's what I did too. I mean, I'm not trying to judge you guys. I honestly did that too. My father-in-law at the time, equivalent, I trusted him. And I'm not saying I don't trust him. He was doing the best with what he could, what knowledge that he had that had come to him. But I trusted him and I thought he was right, so I didn't ever question it. He had an authority that I believed he knew what he was talking about. So I just took it and said, yeah, I never looked up the links. When you believe this stuff already and you have a reason to believe it, you don't look up the links. You don't take that objective stance. And I'm saying, please, you even admitted you didn't look at the links. So go do that and then come back. And then maybe we can really have a real talk instead of these fake little judgmental, I'm going to come and leave a rant on your page and not even one single point or link. Anyway, rant done. Thank you for your posts, guys. I really do appreciate every single person who watches my videos and comments on my page. I'm just so happy with everything that's going on in my life, and I really feel like so just lucky to have this outlet in my life to talk about things, because I live in the Midwest and there's not a lot of vegans here, and it's just really, really, really awesome to be able to come here and connect with other people, listen, learn, share, have people, correct me and all of that. So thank you to the community and everybody out there watching. Have a good night, and don't forget to eat your carbs.